Hello everybody and welcome to another quick Dwarf Fortress tutorial. In this video I'm going to be covering filling minecarts with liquids. This can be done with water, it can be done with lava. So we're going to be covering filling minecarts with water in this video. I will also show some examples later on in the video of how you can use this for lava as well. Now this technique requires some power, but it is very consistent. That's its benefit. So in order to get started, we're going to need to build a few things. Don't mind the livestock, this is a carpenter's workshop. In this carpenter's workshop, I'm going to queue up a minecart. I'm going to need a single minecart for this, obviously. Right next to this is a mechanic's workshop. I'm going to be queuing up just a couple of mechanisms. I'm just going to let it repeat because we're going to need a few of them. Some other items we're going to need for this project is we're going to need a couple of ropes, but fortunately because we still have our wagon right here, in this wagon is a couple of ropes if you scroll down enough. There is a handful of ropes. If I need some more, we do have plenty of pigtail thread as well as some pigtail cloth and I can make some more. And the way we would do that is I would open up the clothes shop, select cloth, and then type in rope. And then from here, we can get some extra ropes. So that should pretty much cover all of the materials that we are going to need for this project. Now it's all about setting up a space for water and getting some minecart stuff in it. So let's go down here and we're going to build ourselves a little space for water. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here into the mining tool. I'm going to open up the channel tool and we are going to dig a small channel right here. Doesn't need to be huge, just big enough so that we can get about 4 blocks across. Alright, so now that our little hole has been dug and all of our materials have been prepped, what we're going to do is we're going to prep this hole. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go down into it and I'm going to remove most of the ramps. I only want the ramps on the bottom side, or alternatively the right side or the top side. The only spot you want there to be ramps is where the minecart is going to leave the location. Now that it's been dug out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into the little spot and I'm going to grab ourselves the mechanisms and fluids section. We're going to start by building our set of rollers. Now what I want is we want this to be going as fast as possible and we want it to be going towards the ramp. So I'm going to start it at the top and we're going to go down. But in order for this to function properly, we're going to need ourselves a minecart track. So we're going to go to the construction section and we're going to grab a minecart track. Now you can do this with both constructed tracks or alternatively, you can also do this with engraved tracks. But in order for it to work on engraved tracks, it has to be done in like on stone, but because we're building on dirt, we have to use constructed tracks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag this minecart track up 1 level, right? So we're going to connect it to right here at the top. This is just how I like to do it so that I'm certain it's going to work. Then I click on the one on top and I delete it. So now we've got this tiny little track running around and you can see this is what we want. We want this little up arrow, right? Now because I didn't actually need to delete that, I'm going to click it again and we're going to build this all the way up to around here. And this is going to be our full track. And then because we're going to need a thing to connect it to initially, I'm going to start one up here on this side of things. Now the way this is going to work is the minecart is going to start up top. Then it's going to move to the end and it's going to drop down. And then it's going to be powered back up and out. There will be water in here, which is going to fill the minecart up with water. So I'm going to go back down into the little pit here, and I'm going to grab the rollers again. Like I said, we want this at maximum speed. That's just how I run it. You don't actually have to run it at maximum speed, as long as it's got enough power to get it up and out of the hole. So as you can see, it's going to go along, and then we're going to build right up until the ramp. Okay, so this is actually going to create a upwards facing minecart roller. So this minecart roller is going to be rolling up and out of the ramp. But as you can see, it doesn't actually want to build here. And you're going to be like, why do you not want to build here? Well, clearly, it wants to be on the ground or near a machine. So we need to give it something to connect to. So I'm going to put a mechanism right here. This mechanism will give it something to connect to. We're going to now just simply wait for our dwarf to connect the mechanism, and then after that, we can connect our rollers. So these rollers need some mechanisms, which I'm going to use the mechanisms that we've constructed, and our pigtail ropes. This is going to create a powered mechanism that goes down and out this way. Now we just need to hook some power up to this, so I need a way to it. So I'm just going to throw 2 small floor bits down here, and then I'm going to throw a windmill over here on the left. Now, we don't need to use a windmill. We could have used water wheels or something else. I could also connect a water wheel up top here just for funsies, just so you can see how that would work, which I could connect right here. But again, we'll need another mechanism to connect it to. So let's just toss a little mechanism right there, and then I can connect the water wheel to that. So we could use a water wheel like this, very simple, or we could just use the windmill. This windmill is producing 20 power, and this water wheel should produce 100. There it is. So this system down here isn't going to use a lot of power, so we probably can just get away with just using the windmill, but just in case we need the water wheel, we have it now. So I can connect another mechanism to the top of this. So we've got one down here and then one just outside of it. like just outside of the hole. And then we're going to use an axle to connect it to our windmill. All right. So what this whole mechanism is going to do, like I said, is it's going to power the minecart up and out. Now, the last thing we need to do is we need to test this. So let's just set up a break function for this so it doesn't get flown into space at the end. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a minecart route. This is going to be a very, very, very simple route. It's just simply going to be a stop. A minecart track stop can be anywhere along the track. We're going to place it right here, just as an example. Now, we don't need it to load up with anything. And all we need it to do is when it's empty, we want them to kick it. So we've got several different options here. I can tell them to push it. I can tell them to kick it. I can tell them to ride in it. We probably don't want that one. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell them to kick it south immediately, at most full. But might as well just say immediately. Now, we can make them do this every couple days. We can set it on a timer. We can do all sorts of fancy stuff, but we're just going to keep it simple. Now, we're going to connect our minecart to the route, and we're going to see what happens. Hopefully, assuming I've set everything up correctly, the minecart should come up here, and then a dwarf should kick it, and, well, ooh, we seem to have a problem. Well, it's going over top of this. That's not really what we wanted. Well, let's see if we can fix this. So you may notice that I've set some things up a little bit differently. I've moved it one further down, and what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to place a wall right here. Now, this wall is going to give that minecart somewhere to go. So instead of just going straight and kind of getting a little bit of air and skipping over the gap, it's going to bump into this wall right here, and then fall directly down onto our rollers, which is right where we want it, which are perfectly powered, by the way. This one setup here is doing all it needs. It is actually working here. However, we want it to be as consistent as possible. So the minecart, if we follow it now, is going to go directly into this wall, drop down, and then immediately be powered out. Let's see if we can watch that one more time. Then I'm going to forbid the minecart, and then we're going to get some water into this, and we're going to test the whole system. Dwarf drops it off. I'm just going to forbid the minecart, so we don't need to worry. And now let's bring this little creek in. And there we go. Moment of truth. The water is now flowing in. So now we just get to see if this whole system works. Keep in mind, the minecart will not fill unless the water is at least 6 of 7 full. But now, as you can see, it's 7 of 7 full, so this whole system should work. Let's take a look. So our dwarf's going to come over here and give it a kick. It's going to get pushed off. It's going to fall down and in, and then something's going to happen. The minecart sprite's going to disappear, and you're going to see a little bit of water vanishing here. That's because this minecart is now full of water, and it's going to shoot across. Now, oh no, we need this minecart's water to go somewhere, and we have an invisible minecart sitting here. Well, let's fix this system. So I'm going to quickly dig a hole on the right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump down into here to the construction section, and I'm going to make a track stop. Now, with the track stop, you can set what direction you want the minecarts to dump and whether or not you want brakes on it. Because we already have this braking system, it doesn't matter. And let's just say dump it to the right. All right. So now we've got this dwarf hauling this very heavy minecart back over because, well, it's full of water. And what should happen once this has been constructed is our minecart here should pretty quickly dump over into the right. Although right now it's creating a lot of mist, which leads me to think maybe this could be an interesting misting system. You know, just a minecart full of water repeatedly smashing through a full thing. Maybe some science for another day. Anyway, the minecart comes over here and dumps the water out as intended. And then they do it again. So you could create a repeating system. You could use this as a method of transporting liquids. You could use this as a method of, well, let me show you some examples at the end of the video. But before, there's one other little tidbit I would like to point out here. So I'm going ahead to set up a second set of rollers right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you just kind of an example of how this can be automated a little bit. I'm going to make a raising drawbridge and place it on the end here. I'm also going to use this water wheel that I constructed initially and connect a little bit of power to it. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build a lever, and I'm going to put it over here, just so that it's close enough that you can see it, but far enough away that it's obviously a remote detonated setup. So now once the dwarves have brought everything together, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this essentially on a long distance activation timer, because you can use drawbridges to block minecarts. So what's going to happen here is that's going to get pulled, and then this is going to be lifted. Now we've got this empty minecart over here, and now we have a forbidden minecart that the dwarves are never going to touch. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this lever, and then the minecart is going to do its thing. So now let's show you some new examples of how this can be used in the real world, or in actual dwarven forts. So this is the Fortress of Heaven's Bolt. In this fortress, I have a few very silly little minecart designs. This is probably one of my favorites, though. This is a minecart that goes around this track at Mach 10 and then dumps the water up through that grate. This is possibly the most over-engineered minecart misting system I've ever designed. However, it's quite effective. Simply going in circles like this, the minecart fills up, and then when it hits this track, it dumps water out. Don't mind the giant squirrels. This minecart system works quite well and was actually the first misting system I built for this fortress, and as you can see, the moods are pretty good in general. There are a few kind of scarred dwarves who really wish they weren't alive, but the majority of them quite enjoy this misting system. And generally, it works as just a forced waterfall that causes the dwarves to have surprise showers, but sometimes does actually generate quite a bit of mist and works as intended. This is the machine. So this is, I actually have 2 barrels of this. This is a set of, iron mine carts that get propelled across this bridge. They hit this wall. They fall down here. They're propelled then along here by magma-safe rollers made out of iron and gabbro, which are both magma-safe. If you need a list of what is magma-safe to screw around with magma, if you go over to the labor screen and go to stone use, it'll actually show you what is and what is not lava-safe. Quite useful. Check marker X's for lava safe. So the minecarts go down here, they fill up with lava, they then get propelled along the bottom here, and then turn into a minecart shotgun. They trip this switch right here, and then they fly all the way down here and fire their lava all the way out in a straight line. The switch then opens up this grate because there's 100 ticks in between, and it takes them less than 100 ticks to fire it. So about a quarter of a second after they land on this, they then drop down a level and then are propelled all the way along here. They hit this switch, which then closes the grate, and then they go all the way back up to the start and then fly back around and do it again. I'm going to turn this setup on and then show it to you in real time, which is probably going to cause some collateral damage because this thing is quite dangerous and I'm taking 0 precautions. Now, one thing that I do want to say about building a setup like this is if you would like to build a minecart shotgun, I recommend you watch my tutorial video on how to build minecart shotguns. Setups like this are not necessarily the most actually efficient. They're just fun to build and fun to watch, which is why I like building them. I wouldn't say that I would necessarily recommend you use these as the majority of your defenses for any fortress, purely because, well, any number of things can go wrong, and it can cause massive amounts of collateral damage. But like I said, that then fires out the lava to the right, and then the minecarts are then propelled all the way back up. The only issue with this setup is timing, so just make sure that you don't end up with minecarts that are not actually firing out the lava, because if they don't, and they just go directly into the fortifications, they will just fly through the fortifications, and then you'll just have a minecart cannon, which is kind of cool. I mean, shooting minecarts at things is fun too, but, if you're trying to shoot a specific thing out of a minecart, you want that to actually function. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you'd like to see more videos like this, check out the playlist. There's a huge playlist. This is maybe a little bit long for a quick tutorial, but I'll see if I can get it down to as short as possible. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.